So we are going to continue solving equations, but now we're going to transition over to using the traditional method, which really is the same as those flowcharts that we've been using, but it's what you should be using as you move forward, because in 8th grade, you won't be using those flowcharts. Like I said earlier, they are a learning tool. So here's our two equations that we're going to be using. It's so silly when that happens, isn't it? So I've got this one is a 1-step, right? And this one, of course, is a 2-step. We talked about the difference between these earlier. So here's my first equation that I need to solve. And I always ask the same exact question. What's the opposite? Okay, so what is the opposite? Well, first I have to know what's going on here. So when I look at this, I'm actually going to make this a little bit bigger. M divided by 5 equals 25. Now, I know there's only one thing happening because it's one step. So what exactly happens to M? Remember, I'm telling that story of M. Well, M is being divided by 5. So what is the opposite of divide by 5? Opposite of division, of course, is multiplication. So I'm going to be multiplying both sides times 5. Now, when I multiply this side times 5, it's really helpful to think of this as two fractions, if you will, even though I know that those both mean division. Because now I can see that these both cancel out, and I'm left on this side with M all by itself, like I want, and that's equal to 25 times 5. Well, I know you're looking at that going, I can't do that, but I know you can. 25 times 5. If you had 5 quarters, how much money you would have? You'd have $1.25. The other way we can think about this is what's 5 times 20? You know that's 100. 5 times 5 is 25. So we know that M is equal to 125. Okay, moving right along. Got my next equation. This we know is a 2-step. And it's a little funny looking when I first glance at it. I am, again, going to make this a little bit bigger. So I've got negative n plus 20 is equal to 6. Always the same question. Well, you need to know that it's like you're moving from the inside to out. Okay? So it's the opposite of our order of operations in most cases. So in this, instead of addressing the n first, what's going on with the n, I'm going to be looking at my plus 20. What's the opposite of plus 20? Well, you should know that that's minus 20. And you know to keep things balanced, I do everything on both sides. So 20 plus 20 minus 20, these two are going to cancel out. I'm going to be left with this. I'm going to be bringing down. This is where I know a number of you got confused. It's negative n equals 6 minus 20. Well, if it's 6 degrees and it goes down 20 degrees, I know I'm going to go into the negatives, right? And also, when I want to think about this, it's a subtraction problem. So 6 minus 20, I'm going to rewrite that over here because this is how you're used to looking at it. I stay, change, change. Signs are different. Find the difference. Oh, yeah, that didn't go away. So the absolute values of these, I'm going to find the difference. So 20 minus 6, I know is 14. The absolute value of the larger, or the sign of the larger absolute value is negative. So I know when I get over here, 6 take away 20 is negative 14. Now, my job is always to find what n is. That's not what we did here. We found the solution to negative n. So I know that n and negative n are opposites. So if I simply change this to its opposite, which is what I want, n equals, I do the same thing to negative 14, n equals 14.